and welcome to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and welcome to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kitchens. We have two incredible celebrity chefs who are here with us today, and let's see what they have cooking. Joining us from Scotland is Simon Macdonald. Hi, Simon. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Yes, it's going to be a super day for us all today. Yes,
what will you be making today?
Well, I'm making a good, solid, traditional chowder-type soup from the village of Cullen, and it's called Cullen Skink. Sounds dreadful, but it is the most delicious thing you could possibly imagine.
Yummy. I didn't know if the name had anything to do with Halloween, since that's coming too, but it sounds like that's a no.
No, it's definitely not. No, it's a pretty little fishing village on the northeast coast of Scotland.
Wonderful. Thank you. We look forward to that. And also joining us is Ricki McKenna, joining us from the great state of Texas. Hi, Ricki.
Hi, Jacalyn. Hi, Simon. And hello, everyone out there.
What do you have cooking today?
Well, I'm not cooking pumpkin. I did that yesterday. But today we're doing a variation on a squash. We're using butternut squash and apples to make a soup. So it is a super soup day. And we'll use lots of spices that are really used around this time of year for Halloween and Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. We're all souped up for your soups. So before we begin, I just want to ask each of you to give us a brief overview of your wonderful life experiences as a chef. I'll start with Simon.
Oh, well, I have cooked all around the world. I've cooked for royalty of our own royal household and others as well. I've even cooked for 3 US presidents. My other daytime job is in fisheries management in the UK, in particular on the west coast of Scotland. But I just love food. I'm passionate about it. We all have to eat. So let's eat well. Let's enjoy what we cook, enjoy what you eat.
Thank you, Simon. And I also want to let everyone know that you are the winner of Chairperson 2021 for Best Fishing Management Forum. Yay! It's fantastic.
Thank you. You're making me blush now.
You've earned it, so enjoy. All right, Ricki, I'm going to spotlight you, and please give us a little bit of background about you and your work and expertise as a chef.
Well, I've been cooking since I was a little child, and I absolutely love food. I believe you know that. And I love good food. And I am a nutritionist as well. And for the last 22 years, I have been cooking and making soups. They're one of my specialties. I've cooked for seniors. I have a daytime job, and it is for seniors that I do at least once a week in their homes. So I make special meals for them. And I just love to cook. And I do agree with Simon. We all have to eat, and that is something that unites us around the world. And so I love to use good ingredients to make things taste great and entertain and have people enjoy the food.
Thank you, Ricki. I'm truly excited about both of these demonstrations. It's exciting. All right. So that being said, Simon is going to go first, and Ricki and I will go backstage, and we look forward to see your, whichever way, watching you prepare the food and the finished product. Thank you, Simon.
Great. Good. Okay. Well, Cullen Skink, as I said earlier, originates from the beautiful little fishing port on the northeast coast of Scotland, a little place called Cullen. And as true to form with me, I love fish. I eat fish in this house just about every single day, in some guise or other. And last week we did a program on salmon, filleting salmon, making gravlax. This week we're using smoked haddock. Now, for those in South Africa, and I know there are one or two out there tonight, that in South Africa, haddock is actually smoked hake. But haddock itself is an Atlantic fish predominantly, and it just smokes beautifully. This is cold smoked. There's no artificial dyes or anything in at all. It's had a salt marinade brine beforehand and then put over a natural smoke, which is cut from shavings from whiskey barrels. And to unite the kitchens again, the whiskey barrels are made from American oak, because it's a denser oak than the French oak, so it doesn't expand and contract as much, so you don't get leaky barrels. So to start with, we've got the haddock, we've got shallots, we've got red pepper to give it a bit of color. We've got mushrooms as well, which helps as a thickening agent. We have double cream. We have wine, and for this one I'm using a lightly oaked Chardonnay, a Signal Post Chardonnay from South Africa as well, so there's a bit of a South African slant to tonight. And we've also got over here, which I've just taken off the boil, got some potatoes, which are diced down into about 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter type cubes, approximately. With this, rough is ready is good. You don't need to have exactly precise sizes of this, that, and the next, but it gives nice texture, gives nice flavor. So I'll just put the oil on to warm in this pan, because this is the main star of the show. And we'll start off with the shallots. I've actually already chopped some there, but I'll just do another one just now as well. Take the top off, take the bottom off, slice it down the middle, and then peel the skin away, just like that. I'll just use half of that just now. We will cut it long ways down there, again and again, and then about 1/2 inch, 1 centimeter in, and that's it. And that's ready. Just pop that in with the others. And we just want to soften those down, let them go white. Lovely. Now, mushrooms. Again, some I prepared earlier. Put them in as well. There we go. Leave that one over there. Now, knife skills time tonight. We did the sharpening the knives last time. This knife has been nicely sharpened up. So when you're chopping with a mushroom, keep your fingers like that. Otherwise, when you come to chop, you'll give yourself a pretty smart manicure. So we don't want to manicure tonight. I've already done it. So we do that, and there we go. And just rough cut, but fairly thinly sliced. There we are. Just pop that in as well. I'll just leave that in there. There we go. Go in there. The red peppers, the same. Again, some pre-chopped. So that goes in like that. And for chopping the red pepper again, just take the top off and leave the seeds in. Some people prefer to take the seeds out, but no, I'm fine leaving them in, because they will soften down when in the cooking process. So there we are. Just cut it into sort of thinner strips, and then just chop it fairly small this time with the red peppers. And this will just gives a lovely bit of color to the finished dish. Really does. It makes the whole thing come to life. So that goes in like that. Now we come to the haddock. The haddock goes in really about last, because we don't want that to overcook. Overcooked fish, not nice. So we just cut it into cubes. Again, like that. Again, about 1/2 inch size cubes. Don't need to be exact. Just chop them up like that. Lovely. Oh, this gives the most delicious flavor of it. This is the crowning glory to Cullen Skink. Traditionally, Cullen Skink wasn't actually made with fish. Most people believe that's what it was, but in actual fact it wasn't. It was meat, and it was usually mutton, which is sheep, matured sheep. It was a poor man's food. And so once sheep started to run short, well, everybody was fishing anyway. So they would be using whatever local fish they got at the time. But there were a lot of haddock around there, and a lot of pollock as well, very, very similar. Even cod, again, very, very similar. And every house tended to smoke to preserve. So this is where we got the smokiness from the Cullen Skink. And it's just really, I can't emphasize too much just how wonderful this dish is. Now, our potatoes, which we'd already been cooking earlier, I'm just going to we're not going to mash them. We're going to crush them so that they're still in relatively whole but textured. And it roughens up the edges as well. Again, this helps just to make the soup that little bit thicker. Now, there we go. So it's like that. And it's not actually mashed, but it's crushed. Now, just give this a little stir around just now. There we go. Oh, I wish you lot could be in my kitchen. The smells in here just now are incredible. Now comes the nice bit. Bit of wine. A good glassful. May as well have a good, nice glassful there as well. This is actually a very delicious wine. South Africa is producing some amazing wines just now. I mean, I'm a great fan of Napa Valley in the States, but South Africa's greatest secret really is their wine. Yep, that will work really nicely with that. So what we've done now with the wine, just let that simmer for a little bit. It takes the alcohol out of it. It's sad, but we want to be sober by the time we finished our Cullen Skink. We don't want to be falling all over the place because you burn your fingers. So, right, the potato that's crushed, we'll just whack that in. There we go. And I didn't drain the water off, you'll notice. Well, the water that's in there just all helps towards the end of the product. There we go. So we just stir that in like that. We just let that just simmer a little bit. And a stock cube. Now we're cooking at home, so you can use a stock cube. It's all right. If you're cooking in a restaurant, then you use freshly made stock, which you have a stock pot on all the time. But doing this here, an ordinary stock cube, and it just gives that little bit of fullness of flavor. Now, it's chicken stock, which I'm using. You could use vegetable stock, but I wouldn't use any meat stock. It tends to be too strong. But the chicken stock, absolutely perfect for it. And there we go. Now, let that just simmer for a little second. And then the next thing we do, cream, double cream. And there's about 1.5 pints in there, or 1.25 pints, or 600 milliliters if you're on the European side of things. And that's a double cream. When you're cooking with cream, use double cream, not single cream. Single cream can split out, but double cream, that's the stuff. You can boil it, it's pretty bulletproof. You can knock it about the place. Excellent stuff. So just whack all of that in. I haven't counted the calories. Why should I? I've got to enjoy this. So that's fine. That's and it'll just creep up. Once it's come back up to almost to the boil and it's simmering nicely, then we can put the fish in. I've got some fresh dill here, which doesn't like the studio lights, but there we go. We'll use that, and I'm going to chop that up. I'll just keep a little sprig aside for a wee bit of garnish later on. So again, for chopping herbs like this, just bunch them up. Again, mind your fingernails. And there we are. And this chops it down fairly fine. Around like that again. And we've got it good and fine. Now this is just, the great thing about Cullen Skink as well, like so many soups, it's actually better the second day around. So I've got this tonight. Let you into a wee secret. I've already eaten this evening, so I'm going to really enjoy this tomorrow night. And my wife loves it as well. It's a family favorite. So we will have this tomorrow night and probably the night after. In fact, we will have it the night after because there is so much. Now, I've got a little secret ingredient to put in again, which, well, last week I introduced you to smoked dulse, which is a seaweed. And this week we've got shoni, which, again, it's another seaweed made with the same company, Mara. So it is available in the States. And this puts a new dimension into cooking altogether. It's the new superfood. Seaweed, it's so good for you. It's got all these amazing minerals and vitamins, ingredients in which just, they're so good for you, make you bounce with health and run all over the place and just love it. So I'm just going to put a good, generous pinch into there. And that will add just that extra dimension. It is so lovely, that. So this is now coming up, simmering nicely. And we're just about ready now to the final ingredient, the fish. I say that when you're smoking, don't buy anything that's been dyed. You get that bright yellow color. It's got tartrazine in it. It's got all sorts of different chemicals to it. There's no point. I mean, smoked food should be made with smoke. It shouldn't be made with chemicals. So this is as pure as you get it. It's very fresh, because we've got our boats working out here all the time, and they're landing haddock just now. It's just in such lovely condition at the moment. So that's it in there. Just let that blend in, and it'll just, the flavors will just work the way through it. Absolutely delicious. Just some of that chopped dill as well, and the flavors of the dill gives it lightens the whole concept of it. It gives it a lift. Really, really lovely flavor of fresh dill. Just a little pinch more. I'm just going to put a pinch of that around the edge of the plate. With your ladle, always warm it in hot water first, because otherwise you're going to finish up with a cold product in your plate. And if you want something that's really piping hot in the winter, keep you nice and warm, then you want your ladle to be warm as well. So we have one plate. We'll just put a little dusting of dill just around the edge, just to pretty it up a little bit. It's something to do while I'm waiting and it finishing off, after all. So there we go. So that's just done around there. Now, I'd say we are actually about ready. Always taste your food as you go along. That way you know if it's ready or if it's not ready, or if you put too much or too little and so on. I know my measurements for this, so that's fine. But, oh my goodness. Oh, this is fantastic. I love it. I'm ready. So, we bring this over here. One final wee stir around. And there we go. That'll do for now. I can switch that off. Very often a good tip when you're making Cullen Skink as well is when it's ready, like it is now, just turn the heat off and leave it for an hour. Come back and then just give it a little warm through, and oh boy, it's ready. So the only way we're going to know just how ready this is, I'll just put a little bit in the middle there. And while I'm at it, I made a little slop, so that comes off like that. There we go. Yeah, can you see that? Can I bring that bit closer? Oh, can you smell those lovely, lovely smells and aromas coming off there of that smoked fish and all the beautiful ingredients in? There's a subtleness coming from the dill and a subtleness coming from the seaweed. I can smell the sea in this dish. It is so, so tasty. So let's try. Oh, yes. I'm having my second supper tonight. Cheers, everybody, and enjoy it.
I can smell it from here, Simon.
No, so can I.
And what a beautiful presentation. And I love how you just walked us through it step by step. It was easy to follow. And of course, I'm dying to know what that South African Chardonnay is as I'm going out to purchase wine today. But
that's very nice. It's just perfect with this because it's lightly oaked, which it enhances the smokiness of the fish. just that bit of light oak to it as well. So the only difference is they have their own oak barrels there, which they're using French oak. So it's not American oak this time, I'm afraid, but our whiskey barrels are American oak. It's the best.
And Cynthia Hu has a couple of comments. I hope I'm saying your name properly. I am sharing to my community group live and eat colorful. And Simon, love this. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Cynthia. Oh,
are either of you friends with Cynthia?
Yes.
Ricki is.
I
okay.
am now.
Oh, yes.
All right. Now you're connected. I love when people get connected and find other ways to collaborate. So, all right, Simon, that was outstanding. Thank you. I wish I was in that kitchen right now.
Oh, we will be fighting over it, I reckon, by now. Yeah, I don't know who'd be fighting over this or fighting over that, but one way or the other.
Both.
Would be having fun.
I think both, for sure. All right. Ricki, before we go over to you, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to hear from one of our sponsors. We're going to hear from Diane Floyd-Boehm today, and also we're going to hear a music video, and then we'll be right back on the United Kitchens. Yay. Stay with us. Yay!
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd-Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DianeFloydBoehm.com. Visit DianeFloydBoehm.com. That's DianeFloydBoehm.com.
Welcome back to USA Global TV, home of Talking Heads, and welcome to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio. I want to say hello to Zaira Del Pilar Cian, and hello to Judith Fish, to Roland Friedel, again to Cynthia Hu, and to Gramos Abdazi, and also to Maya Spornshin. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. And thank you to our sponsors, Diane Floyd-Boehm, Licorice Dragon Records, ILO, and Tony Moore. Okay, the United Kitchens continues. In our first segment, Simon whipped up a phenomenal soup, and he's got that wonderful South African wine. And Simon, do you want to show us again? Please.
Oh, there. Get my priorities right. I'm a Scotsman. It's what we do. No, there we go. Cullen Skink.
Cullen Skink.
Smoked haddock, cream, mushrooms, shallots, a bit of red pepper for flavor, a some seaweed, just dried seaweed, beautiful, and it just gives it that lift. But a good dollop of our South African wine, and it's the Signal Post Chardonnay, lightly oaked, complements the smoked haddock beautifully.
Thank you so much, Simon. And now we're on to Ricki McKenna, who's going to make a butternut squash and apple soup. Ricki, this stage is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn, and thank you and welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Simon, I want that recipe. That's one that I don't have, and I would really like to have that. That sounds absolutely scrumptious. Now, on the other hand, what we're going to do today is all veggie soup with the exception of using some chicken base or chicken broth. It's called squash apple soup, and it's a very simple soup to make. And I thought I'd show you a couple of different things. First of all, we're going to start with some butter, and we use butter and olive oil in the pot, about a tablespoon of olive oil and about a tablespoon of butter. And we'll set that cooking on a medium heat. That's for those of you who have electric ranges, or you can turn your gas range down to medium. And I've got it on about 5. And then we're going to we have the butternut squash. I've already used some of it, and I'll show you why I did. When you have a butternut squash, one end is smaller than the other, and the other's a bulb. And the bulb end is the one that contains the seeds. So today we're going to use the end that doesn't contain the seeds, and we're going to keep an eye on the pot so that the olive oil and the butter don't burn. And so we're going to take about 3/4 inch slices, and this is the easy part, and I have scrubbed and not peeled the squash. It's an organic squash, and as a nutritionist I recommend you don't peel, you scrub. And what we're going to do is blend the soup so you won't be biting into chunks, besides which when it's cooked it softens. So I'm going to cut about 4 3/4 to an inch slices of the squash and cut that up and have it ready. And you can just roughly cut it into bite-sized pieces and turn it around. And you're cutting it because you want everything to cook well. We need about 2 cups of the butternut squash. And each of the slices, and figure a little bit space in between, so you want to, this is a 2-cup measuring cup. And so we're going to pretty much fill it up. And if it goes over the top, so be it. We'll just have a little more squash in the soup. And what I'll do with the rest of the squash, because squash are in season now. Fall is the season for root vegetables and squashes such as this. And we call them winter squashes or seasonal autumn squashes, however you want to put it. And we've got just a bit over 2 cups, and that's fine. But I'm going to put that aside and have that ready for a few minutes from now. And I'm going to cut up my apple. Let's see if we can get that out of the way. The first thing that goes into the pot after the butter and the oil have melted, which they're about to do, just make sure that it doesn't burn. It's starting to sizzle. And once it starts to sizzle, then you want to put in your onions, and we're using about 1/2 cup. But as an intuitive chef, I use more of what feels good or smells good and tastes good to me. So I'm using a teeny bit more than 1/2 cup. We'll just throw the onion in there. And let's see what's next. The leek. I know that a lot of people have a bit of a fear of using leeks simply because they're a pain in the neck to clean, and they're not sure that they're going to have them clean. And I love the flavor of leeks. And we're going to use both the green and the white parts of the leek. So I thought I'd show you how to clean one. When you get the leek, cut off the edges of the green part and cut the bottom off, of course. And then slice down from the top about halfway through. And oh yeah, and I don't know if you can see this, but leeks come from the earth. And you can see that these are organic. So I'm going to give this an extra wash. But that's the best way to cut it, to wash it, to make sure you get all the dirt out of the leek. And to enjoy the flavors, because they really are absolutely delicious and completely different from an onion. So they add the flavor of the leek. It's a lighter flavor and a little more exotic. And I'm going to take off the outside leaves as well. So this way, as I said, you make sure you get all the earth out from in between the leaves before you cut it up to put it in the soup or anything else. I think that's got it. Okay. And you can see the difference. It's now clean. And the little spots, that's just part of the leek. Okay, and if you feel as though the spots are a little bit too bad on the outside, just remove the leaf. And let's check on our butter and our onions. Yep, they're sizzling, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm going to cut up, we need about 1.5 cups of, actually about 2/3 of a cup of leeks in this. When I make the butternut squash soup, I usually make several quarts of it, or what would be equivalent to about 2.5 liters. So today I'm just cutting that recipe in half. And as I said, we'll use the white and the green parts. And it just needs to be chopped roughly because it will be blended. So we're just cutting it up enough so that it will cook fairly evenly and fairly quickly. And I've got just about, it's almost a cup. So we'll count that as 2/3 of a cup. And as I said, I like to have the flavors, more of the flavors that I really love, so I'll add a little bit more. Next comes chicken stock. And I prefer to use something called chicken base. It's far more economical. You can use the chicken stock that comes in the boxes. And what I'm going to do with this is something that I've taught for years with teaching cooking. I'm going to take my stock, and when you've got something that on the stove that you don't want to stop the cooking, and the best way, to make the chicken broth that goes in is to use hot water. So I've taken my tea kettle, my hot water kettle, and I've heated the water. And I'm going to take, it calls for about 2.5 cups of chicken stock or chicken broth. So I'm taking my boiled water and I'm mixing it up in the measuring cup. And I'm going to blend it now so that it dissolves before I put it into the pot. And there we go. And I need 2.5 cups approximately. We will add some more water too. But for now, we're just putting in the chicken broth on top of the leeks and the onions. And there's my blended chicken broth. Give that a stir. And I'm going to turn it up a little bit so it begins to boil. Okay. Next, we have garlic, because what's a soup without garlic? And so we're just going to mince it slightly or chop it up slightly. And as Simon said, please don't chop in your fingers. You can use a garlic press, but it really doesn't matter at this point because it's all going to be blended. So we've got little chunky pieces of garlic that we're going to put in. And let all that come up to a boil. And just to let you know, when you put in an ingredient such as garlic, if you really want to taste the garlic, put it in later rather than sooner, because the more it cooks, the more the flavor really kind of, it doesn't evaporate, but it changes a little bit differently. You'll taste it more if you put it in later. Now I've got my onion, my leek, and the garlic in there, and I have a mix of spices that goes in. I've already done the mix. It's a teaspoon each of coriander, cumin, cardamom, cinnamon, and ginger, and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. So it's all the spices that you might find in a pumpkin pie or the seasonal things for Halloween and for Thanksgiving. And it comes out to about 5 tablespoons or teaspoons, of seasoning. And I'm just going to put that right in on top of this, a little bit of it, and then I'm going to put my squash in. And now for the apple. And we've got a few more things to go in, but this is a very simple soup. If you don't have one of these wonderful gadgets, I would suggest getting it. It's an apple corer. And the only thing you have to be aware of, I'm using a Fuji. You can use Fuji apples, you can use Honeycrisp, Gala, whatever your choice is. The sweeter apples work beautifully with the squash. And what you do with this little gadget is just push it down. And you end up with 8 slices and a core. Very simple, very smart, especially if you're having fruit, making a plate of fruit, and you want to cut things up very quickly. And if you notice, I'm not peeling the apple as well. So we're just going to chop it up roughly, kind of the way I do to make applesauce as well. And this should come out to about a cup. And it calls for a cup. And we've got almost 2. So that's okay because we've had extra butternut squash. So I'm putting both of those in there. And I'm going to turn the heat up. And actually, I should have waited with the broth because I want to caramelize the apple and the butternut squash, which means turning it up on high and almost burning it, not quite, but charring it a bit so that it brings out the flavors and the sweetness of each of the vegetables and the fruit. So we're going to bring that up till it starts to boil. And in the meantime, I'm going to add the rest of my spices. And it looks like a lot, but once the soup starts to really brew, it blends in beautifully, and the flavors are just marvelous, and so is the aroma at this point. And I found it interesting because I think that Simon and I both appreciate the aromas from cooking as well as the flavors. And that's usually if you're having a party, which, by the way, we're having a birthday party on Sunday. It's my sweetheart's birthday, actually November 1st, which is Monday. And we're going to have the soup, which will sit for 2 days in the refrigerator and blend beautifully. All the flavors do come out even more once you let it sit in the refrigerator. So meantime, while that is all brewing, I'm going to take my lemon and I'm going to zest a little medium lemon, which goes in on top of everything just before it sits to cook for about 45 minutes. So carefully zest a lemon. Usually a medium-sized lemon is good for this soup, for the amount that I'm doing now. And let's see. And I'll show you what I have in that little bitty bottle that's in front of me, because it's one of the things that I suggest people do in my cooking lessons. There we have some more zest. Okay. And make sure it comes off the bottom of the zester. This is, we're boiling. Lovely. What I suggest you do when you have zest, either with a lemon or an orange, for example, because I do zest oranges also for different foods. What I've done is taken a little bitty baby jar that I think had some jam or something in it. And I take this and I put my zest in it and freeze it. So that when I need the zest, which I need a teaspoon now, I'm going to have the zest already. And of course, I've zested some more, so I can add that to the soup as well. But I'm going to take out a teaspoon of the lemon zest and put that in my soup. And mix it up. And let it bubble. And the recipe suggests that I take the cover and cover it partially so you can balance your cover on top of the pot. And let it sit there so that it's partially covered, but make sure that the pot lid is tilting into the pot, not out of it, so that all the condensation and the juices that rise from the boiling go right back into the pot so you get all the flavors. And in the meantime, I'm going to take the rest of my zest that I just did and put it in my jar. And I use some of it as a garnish as well once I'm serving it. So normally I would put it all in the jar. And I'm going to keep some of it out here to use as a garnish. And then take the rest of it and put it back in the freezer. So that's my hint for the day with that. When the soup has boiled, this soup gets blended. And I have my immersion blender, which is the handiest tool I've ever had in the kitchen. And I've already blended some of it. So I want to show you how it looks when it is finished, because all those wonderful vegetables in there. I don't know if you can see it. I always have trouble with this part. It's a thick, wonderfully rich soup, due not only to the butternut squash, which is thick and rich, but also the butter as well as the olive oil that goes in when you first do the onions and the leeks. And what I love about it is it's a very hearty, warm soup that you can serve in the winter time or any time. And this time what we're going to do, this is an option for it. So today I think I will take just a wee bit of honey, and you don't need a lot of honey, but the honey adds a smoothness to it. And I'm using about a teaspoon, and I'm going to put it right in the pot. Great honey. And just mix that around. Notice I'm not putting the honey in when it's cooking. It's after it's finished, just about when I'm ready to serve it, so that when I do serve it, let's see, I'm going to give it a taste. The interesting part of this soup is you get the spices that are like a pumpkin pie. Plus, I put a little bit more ginger in. The lemon zest comes through, and the apple adds a sweetness. And the other thing that I'm going to add just before serving, and I'm going to turn it down a wee bit so it's more simmering than boiling. What I'm going to add before I serve it are some roasted pumpkin seeds as a garnish. And you can add a little bit of parsley or other little green that you like. This is one of the few soups that I make that really doesn't have any greens other than the leek or the onion, if you consider them greens. And there's our finished butternut squash soup. Can everybody see that? It's hard to balance that one, but it is yummy. And it makes a wonderful, rich, thick, and tasty warm soup for the winter time or the fall. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of lemon zest in it just before serving. And there you have it. Butternut squash apple soup. And let's see what else. And now you've got some naked lemons that you can use for just about anything. They're much more easy to squeeze.
Bravo, Ricki, bravo.
Thank you.
We've got a comment from Cynthia. You were asking if anybody could see the soup, and she's saying, yes, I can see it. Thank you. And we also have another comment from Judith Fish. Much greetings to you and your whole team and all the participants from me from Budapest, Hungary. Thank you so much, Judith.
Good.
All right, Simon, what feedback do you have for Ricki from Chef to Chef?
So your party's on Sunday?
Yes, it's actually Richard's birthday on Monday, but we're having a party on Sunday.
I'll be over. I'll bring a good quantity of Viognier, beautiful wine that will go absolutely superbly with that.
I think the one you've got right there would be beautiful with it.
It would be all right, but the Viognier is a French grape variety, and it is absolutely sensational. It would be so good with that. It really would be absolutely lovely with that.
That happens to be my very favorite wine, and I had an experience with it once that was very satisfying, to say the least. I went to a wine tasting, and we had several glasses of different things, and we had to guess what the wine was. We weren't told ahead of time. And I said, Viognier. And they went, yes.
Yes. Very distinctive.
Absolutely a delicious white wine. It's a blend.
It is. It's got a nice fruitiness as well, which just made me think that this is really going to work so well with that soup. It'd be absolutely delicious.
Yes, it brings out, each of them bring out the flavors in the other. So it's absolutely.
Yeah. No, I was just looking in my racks there. I haven't got any left.
Time to make a purchase.
Juliet loves it.
I have to get some.
Juliet loves it as well. So
That's
what doesn't last in this house.
That is my favorite white wine. And actually, I found this works well with a really good crusty bread, like a focaccia bread, and butter. A little bit of salted butter.
Why just a little bit?
Okay, a whole bunch. I'll be like Julia. I love it. Everything's better with butter.
I love it too. Let's hear from a couple people. It's Cynthia. Thank you, Ricki. I am hungry. Awesome.
And by the way, thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia also has a cooking show in which she has several people participate, and I am one of them. And
how lovely.
Delightful, yeah.
That's wonderful.
I made the Thai burgers that we did last week and the hamburgers on her show last week.
All right. Now I'm getting to understand the cooking community. Gail Tolan. Thank you, Ricki. What are you serving with the soup on Sunday?
I believe it's going to be lemon pepper chicken, which is Richard's specialty, as well as a green salad. It's a share. People are bringing different things, and I have some pesto that would be kind of interesting on the focaccia bread with this. I don't know that the flavors would blend. I think the flavors might blend. The basil pesto.
Guess what? Pesto is my favorite thing in the whole world. All the stuff I gave up, I did not give up pesto. I love it.
Pesto. No, it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And from Cynthia, thank you, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, for this wonderful show. Thank you, Cynthia. We've got to get you on the platform, Cynthia.
Absolutely.
Go over to drjacalyn.com, book your session, and sign up. We'd love to meet you and have you on the program. So All right, my friends, it is time for us to say adios, adieu, au revoir for now because we have another show in 5 minutes. But before we go, Ricki McKenna, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, that is my telephone number. I'm in the United States, so if you're out of the States, it's 1+970. And you can also see me and read some of the recipes. They will be on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Ricki McHealthy. Just all one word. And that's my website. As I say, you'll find the recipes on there, as well as some information and more tips, how to clean leaks and how to do other things in the kitchen. Really simply.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricki. Thanks so much. Simon Macdonald, how can people get in touch with you?
Send a carrier pigeon and I will cook it and send it back with you. But you can always try the good old-fashioned email variety, and it's macdonaldsimon@ymail.com, and that's MacDonaldSimon @ymail.com.
Thank you, Simon. And I also want to say hello to Diane Floyd Babe, who's watching, and I hope I say your name right, Jamal Kamal Ahmed. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, friends, we are coming right back straight away with stories of hope, inspiration, and overcoming adversity. And my guest, Dimitri, is joining us from the Netherlands. So do stay tuned for that. And I'm just going to play the closing credits and say goodbye for now. See you all later.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week. Don't forget
Bye
next
now.
week.
Next
See
week.
you next week.
Bye-bye.